So you got yourself a little trophy there, don't you?
Yes, we do. This is my favorite part of the hunt right here because everybody knows I love to eat and I love to cook both. So yeah, let's talk about it, man. It's real simple here. It's frozen, so my hands are cold here. Straight out of the freezer, getting ready to cook some turkey and make some awesome videos on that. I mark everything. Let's talk about the meat first of all. You know, this is the most common piece of meat that people go after. And one of the quick, simple tips that everybody needs to know is not just taking the meat out and cutting it and getting it cold. A lot of people would just put it in water or they'll just put it in salt water. You know, but one of the things that Chef Will taught us with all meat is adding baking soda to it. You know, because not only does that tenderize meat, it also draws a lot of blood out. But on turkeys, wild turkeys, there's not much fat on this at all. You know, so when you're cooking it, Chef Will is going to talk about that. You know, it's a very tender, great piece of meat. First thing we do, we soak it. And after it's soaked, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 hours is all you need, something like that. And then we vacuum seal them. You know, we put them in these food saver bags. And if you got tons of wild meat and you can't get to it right away, you're going to gain an extra year at least in the freezer by having it in a food saver bag. So we mark everything just because we kill so much stuff. But in all seriousness, we do mark everything so we know. So I have turkey, Kansas 2019. And man, excited about our guest. We got Master Chef Will Kissel. And the guy knows his stuff, man. He's good. So we're excited to have him, and he's going to break down. We're going to do a bonus recipe on actually cooking this particular breast meat right here.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing real quick.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, you know, marking that on there so you don't end up with mystery meat a year later that you're not sure what it is.
Right.
Another tip you can do, too, on this is you can, if you don't have a vacuum sealer, get a big freezer Ziploc bag that you can just buy at any Walmart or, you know, any store like that. Put your meat in there, and then fill it up with water about, you know, 2/3 of the way, and then get that zip closed down about almost the very end and start squeezing it until all of the air comes out and there's just the start of water starting to run through, and then zip that last little bit. And effectively you pushed all the air out and replaced it with water.
I like it.
Freeze it solid upright so it doesn't fall over and leak in your freezer. And that'll help just about the same as having it in a vacuum sealed bag.
Perfect.
All right, so like we said, Chef Will's going to show us how to cook up this turkey breast meat.
What's up, guys? Welcome inside of Commando's Kitchen. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you probably purchased the turkey course. And this is one of my favorite parts about it because now we get to experience the blessing from a hunt. So if you saw the video clip of the Kansas bird that I shot, we're actually going to enjoy the cooking and the recipes involved with that. So we're bringing an awesome and great friend and master chef. I want to introduce you guys to Chef Will Kissel.
Hey, man.
Welcome again. Good to have you back.
This is going to be good. We're all going to love this.
Okay, I'm fired up.
So tonight we're going to do turkey breast.
Okay.
And like typically when people go hunting, they get a boneless, skinless turkey breast to cook at home.
Right.
So I'm going to show you techniques because most wild turkey's pretty lean, especially in the breast. So I'm going to teach you techniques to add that fat, just like we did with the deer.
Okay.
So we're going to do that, and we're going to do it with some really nice roasted rosemary red potatoes, and we might even knock out a little pan sauce. I don't know yet, and we're going to get there.
Sounds great.
So if you want to get in the fridge and hand me that turkey breast,
Yep.
and I definitely want to talk about what you did to this. You soaked it in salt and baking soda, just like I showed you with the squirrel. And when we saw the water, we poured it off. It was bloody and nasty. And now just look at that breast. I split it up. I cleaned it up a little. So no skin. And our skin is what, you know, it keeps the fat in. It keeps the flavor. It holds the fat. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, especially wild birds, they got a lot of parasites. And a lot of outfitters, they just pull it off. And it's for health and safety reasons, which I completely understand.
Right.
But how do we not dry this out? Well, we take this awesome softened butter and we just, now it's going to melt off, but as it cooks, those butter fats are going to stay and it's going to create a layer.
Okay. Cool.
And dude, well, it's like Thanksgiving turkey. You use butter under the skin and with your seasonings and everything.
We talked about this earlier. We don't use margarine, we use butter.
Yeah, you want to talk about that? So margarine, funny because we're cooking turkey. Margarine was originally created as a turkey food, and then it was some plastic byproducts were added to it in food colorings, and then that's how it became human consumption. So
Very toxic.
Very toxic, man. Right. You don't need that. Cow makes a beautiful product. Why don't we use that?
Right.
So, butter, and then, there it is. Everybody has this, or everybody can find it. It's one of my favorite seasonings in the world to use, Mrs. Dash. Mrs. Dash has got, this is salt-free, but it's got pepper, but it has dehydrated vegetables in it. It's got bell pepper, onion, garlic. There's parsley in here. They use bay leaves. So, and we're not gonna mess around, man. We're gonna be very liberal. It almost looks like a dry rub. And we're gonna put this on there, and this is gonna help create a layer that's gonna hold that fat in. And that's your turkey breast. So, like you said, 375. Because it's so lean, I'm looking at like 20 minutes. I'm gonna be checking it.
Okay.
And everybody's, cooking chicken, 168, 170 degrees. You gotta cook it well done. Absolutely. Even with turkey, a wild turkey, I would still cook it well done. Now, when you get your smaller game birds, like your pheasants, your quails, you can do those medium.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Best way to eat a quail, medium rare.
Huh.
It's delicious. It's not dried out. So we're gonna get him to medium well.
Okay.
But we're also gonna make sure he doesn't dry out.
Okay.
So coming right into the oven, in the middle of all that nice convection heat in there. And then we're gonna do our rosemary roasted potatoes. And if you guys look in here, I got whole rosemary in there. So what I did earlier, and you guys didn't get to see, this is how you buy it from the store. And what you're gonna do is you don't need to necessarily, like a lot of chefs and cooks will be like, well, to use your rosemary, you grab it by the top. That's an excellent demonstration. And then you pull
Right.
and clean your
I
stem.
see that all the time.
Okay, and that's great. And that's if I want to chop my rosemary. That rosemary, all I did,
So you're looking to put those sprigs in there.
I put the whole sprig because you're getting flavor from there. It's just like it's a member of the pine family.
Okay.
So you're gonna get some sap and some flavor. So what you do is you take it, you fold it in your hand, and then you rub it. Now smell that's in there that hasn't been really touched. And it smells like rosemary.
We
right?
did just wash our hands, by the way.
Yep. It smells like rosemary.
Right.
Smell that. It's stronger.
10 times different.
So what I did is the heat from my hands and rubbing it and folding it, it releases all those oils because there's pine
Yeah, I
oil
can
in
smell
here.
it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
strong.
you could
Yeah,
really
yeah.
smell it. So what I'm gonna do is this has been soaking in there. That rosemary's been broke up and just hanging out in there. I'm gonna throw a couple more sprigs in there because the rosemary with these roasted potatoes, once we get it going, just phenomenal. So we're gonna get.
Looks good. I love rosemary too. That's awesome.
So we're gonna do medium-high heat. We're gonna throw a little canola oil. And like you said earlier, it is a higher temp oil. I'm gonna teach you some tricks of the trade here
Okay.
to keep your potatoes from sticking. Coat our pan. We'll let this bad boy get hot.
You love cooking with cast iron, don't you?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, if you treat it right, cast iron creates this, it's a porous metal. So it absorbs fat. And then it cooks the fat and it creates this black seasoning, is what they call it. When you get new cast iron, it'll look pitted. My cast iron was passed down to me from grandparents, and it's very rarely lost its seasoning. It's smooth.
Okay.
And a lot of people will say, well, you can't cook eggs in cast iron, it's not a non-stick. If you take care of your cast iron, and we've cooked with this one,
Yeah.
and when I got done with it, I just wiped all the chunks out, used a little hot water,
Okay.
and then that butter that we had, I just wiped it in there and let it dry, and then we put it away.
Right.
Today, when I pulled it out, it looked exactly like I put it up.
Right. Yeah.
So it's got flavor left over from last time, but it's got that oil and fat still in there. So as you cook it, you're just going to create a layer upon layer, and then eventually you'll get a very non-stick pan.
That's awesome.
All right, so we got our hot oil. We got these nice roasted potatoes. I just did a little salt, pepper, a little oil, and then that rosemary. So we're just gonna come right in here with everything.
Looks good.
And you know, a lot of people, they tell you boil your potatoes, you know, and that's fine. I mean, you can poach or real quick steam them to get them soft.
Okay.
But if you cook, especially a smaller potato or a red potato is a smaller, tender potato. You can pan fry these with minimal liquid in them, and they'll soften up, tender, beautiful caramelization. And then once I get that hard popping, then I'm gonna pull my heat back a little. I'm gonna add a little beer. Okay. So I'm gonna get some flavors from that, and it's also gonna add liquid to keep it from sticking.
Okay.
So wire potatoes
you
are
can use water or anything like
that.
Yeah,
you can use water, just a little something to create a barrier.
Okay.
See how it plumped up? Oh yeah. Now, that guy's almost done too. Now, I'm a trained professional. I do this every day of my life. So I can take my finger and I can poke poultry and I can tell you if it's about done.
Okay.
I highly recommend use the thermometer.
Okay.
So you make sure you're at like 165 to 170.
Good point. That's good.
Just to be safe. Now, like we talked about, you soak those in salt and baking soda. So that's going to take care of your parasites and your nastiness.
Right.
But there might be some bacteria in there somewhere.
Yeah, so a lot of people would just use the water and the salt. But that baking soda is a huge component.
Yeah, huge. And it helps pull that out. The salt will kill, the saline will kill the stuff, but that baking soda pulls all that bad stuff out.
That's awesome.
So, cool. Man, it's just the flavors. So I got one of my...
So much sizzling, it's getting loud in here. But that's good time, it's progress. I like it.
Another thing I want to talk about. A lot of people will tell you, don't use metal. On metal on cast iron. Wrong.
That a lot.
Wrong.
Okay.
You want to use metal.
Okay.
Because I have a metal flat, like cooking spatula, you see in a kitchen.
Yeah, for sure.
And I use that to scrape so I can get all that nice caramelization to stick on whatever I'm cooking.
Okay.
I don't want it on my pan. I ain't gonna do nothing there. That flavor needs to come in here.
Right.
So it's not hurting your pan. It's really not. Especially when we're done, we're gonna rinse it, make sure it's oiled and dry.
Okay.
And then we're gonna build that up. I'm not taking anything off. My parents, they yell at me all the time. Every time I cook in cast iron, because I use metal utensils. They're like, what are you doing? You're gonna ruin it. No, I won't. Now, your newer non-stick pans, that'll ruin it. Because you're literally scraping that non-stick off with a metal utensil. Cast ain't got that. We talked about it. It's porous metal. Man, those, now look, they haven't even been in like 5 minutes, and they're already starting to soften up, and I can dimple them with a spoon. So, got that nice, you hear all that popping? Throw a little beer in there, add it, get a little steam started. I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna see where we're at. Oh.
That looks great.
I don't know. Get you some of that.
Juicy too.
Let's just see. That's really good. Be careful. There's a couple shots in there. But that's fine. For me, that's part of the experience. And I was raised off of a hunt. I was raised off of hunt food, so when I eat wild game like this, I choose softer. Isn't that good? It's really flavorful. And just like when you taste the oil in there, you're getting flavors that I didn't add. And that's because that's what the turkey ate. And that is the difference between wild game and raised game. Wild game, what they eat primarily will come through in your food when you cook it. And I mean, that's a lot of flavor. Why would you want to miss out on that? And if you understand that, you recognize that, you know how to cook towards it like I do, you can really play with it and make some amazingly flavorful things. We're gonna let this guy hang out and just rest. He's like any other giant chunk of meat. You want it to rest. You want your juices to settle. And you see how the grain's running? So grain's running this way. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna cut him just like this.
Look at that.
Look at that. See that juice?
Mm-hmm.
Man, dude. Marty's over there behind the camera dying. That's a nice turkey, dude.
Yeah.
So we got our plate rosemary potatoes, and we're just gonna, we don't even need a pan sauce, I don't think. We're gonna take this, and we're just gonna, 1, 2, layer that up. Rosemary roasted red potatoes with a beautiful, very simple oven roasted turkey breast, guys. Please, by all means, make these recipes. Teach your family, show them that game meat, that's the way to go.
Leaving nothing to waste on the turkey, man. I mean, we talked about it all the time.
Well,
and people, they just don't know. It's lack of knowledge, you know?
Yeah, and the really cool thing is that oil, once I pull all that turkey out, I'm gonna save him. He's gonna go in mason jars, he'll get frozen or go into my cellar where there's a nice temp. And if we do a loin, or hell, I might cook some whole chickens in it, and it just build that flavor. So, you know, don't let it go to waste. Reuse, find what you can do.
That's awesome.
But Landy, let's chow down.
Let's do it, man. That's awesome. We gotta save some for the cameraman and his wife back there as well.
I just want to bite, man. Yeah. Oh yeah. Now that's a turkey dinner.
So juicy, man.
Yeah, it's so good. Should give a little of that potato with that rosemary in there.
There we go.
It just brings even more, man. You're welcome, brother.
Yeah.
Glad. Hey, thank you for bagging that and
Yeah.
bringing it here for me, man. This is my area. This is what I love doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
So you guys, this is what it's all about. We talk about it all the time. Going out there and what you guys have learned in the course and the strategy and the different techniques and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's rewarding, and it just keeps you getting back out there, enjoying the creation and the whole experience. But when it's all said and done, it's priceless when you can come together and have the food and the fun and the fellowship and just the camaraderie and just even talk and telling the old stories about the hunt and what you experienced and what you learned. And that's what we're all about, man. Just making memories, and glad you guys can be a part of it. Simple recipes that you can apply and use right away. And go out there, get that turkey, and enjoy this time like we're doing now.